I'm going to call you BFG.
Hi everybody, how are you? I've had a great day and I am going to read from the BFG again, and I am going to read The Marvelous Ears. Have you ever thought of your ears as being marvelous? Well, remember when, I'm trying to find it in my book, I'm sorry. The Marvelous Ears, there it is. And look here at the BFG. Look at his ears. Ooh, they're big, aren't they? So I'm going to read the chapter called The Marvelous Ears. Back in the cave, the big friendly giant sat Sophie down once again on the enormous table. Is you quite snugly there in your nightie? He asked. You is in friggy cold? I'm fine, Sophie said. I cannot help thinking, said the BFG, about your poor mother and father. By now they must be jipping and scumping all over the house, shouting, Hello, hello, where is Sophie gone? I don't have a mother and father, said Sophie. They both died when I was a baby. Oh, you poor little scrumplet, cried the BFG. Is you not missing them very badly? Well, not really, Sophie said, because I never really knew them. You is making me sad, the BFG said, rubbing his eyes. Don't be sad, Sophie said. No one is going to be worrying too much about me. That place you took me from was the village orphanage. We are all orphans in there. You is an orphan? Yes. How many is there in there? 10 of us, Sophie said, all little girls. Was you happy there? The BFG asked. Oh, I hated it, Sophie said. The woman who ran it, called Mrs. Clonkers, was very mean, and if she caught you breaking any of the rules, like getting out of bed at night or not folding up your clothes, you got punished. How is you getting punished? Oh, she locked us in the dark cellar for a day and a night without anything to eat or drink. The rotten old rot strapper, cried the BFG. It was horrid, Sophie said. We used to dread it. There were rats down there, and we could hear them creeping about. The filthy old fizzwiggler, shouted the BFG. That is the horridest thing I is hearing in years. You is making me sadder than ever. All at once, a huge tear that would have filled a bucket rolled down one of the BFG's cheeks and fell with a splash on the floor. It made quite a puddle. Sophie watched with astonishment. What a strange and moody creature this is, she thought. One moment he is telling me my head is full of squashed flies, and the next moment his heart is melting for me because Mrs. Clonkers locks us in the cellar. The thing that worries me, Sophie said, is having to stay in this dreadful place for the rest of my life. The orphanage was pretty awful, but I wouldn't have been there forever, would I? All is my fault, the BFG said. I is the one who kid-snatched you. Yet another enormous tear welled from his eye and splashed on the floor. Now I come to think of it, I won't actually be here all that long, Sophie said. I is afraid you will, the BFG said. No, I won't. Those brutes out there are bound to catch me sooner or later and have me for tea. I is never letting that happen, the BFG said. For a few moments, the cave was silent. Then Sophie said, May I ask you a question? The BFG wiped the tears from his eyes with the back of his hand and gave Sophie a long, thoughtful stare. Shoot away, he said. Would you please tell me what you were doing in our village last night? Why were you poking that long trumpet thing into the Gucci children's bedroom and then blowing through it? Aha, cried the BFG. Now we is getting nosier than a Parker. And the suitcase you were carrying, what on earth was that all about? The BFG stared suspiciously at the small girl sitting cross-legged on the table. You is asking me to tell you wopsy big secrets, he said. secrets that nobody is ever hearing before. I won't tell a soul, Sophie said. I swear it. How could I anyway? I'm stuck here for the rest of my life. You could be telling the other giants. No, I couldn't. You told me they would eat me up the moment they saw me. And so they would, said the BFG. You is a human being, and human beings is like straw bunkles and cream to those giants. Well, if they are going to eat me the moment they see me, then I wouldn't have time to tell them anything, would I? Sophie said. You wouldn't, said the BFG. Then why did you say I might? Because I is brimful of buzzburgers, the BFG said. If you listen to everything I'm saying, you will be getting earaches. Please tell me what you were doing in our village. I promise you can trust me. Would you teach me how to make an elephant? The BFG asked. What do you mean? Sophie said. I would dearly love to have an elephant to ride on. I would so much love to have a jumbly big elephant and go riding through green forest picking peachy fruits all day long. Nothing grows in this country except snozcumbers. I would love to go somewhere else and pick peachy fruits in the early morning from the back of an elephant. Sophie was quite moved by this curious statement. Perhaps one day we will get you an elephant, she said, and peachy fruits as well. Now tell me, what were you doing in our village? If you is really wanting to know what I'm doing in your village, I is blowing a dream into the bedroom of those children. Blowing a dream, Sophie said. What do you mean? I is a dream-blowing giant. When all the other giants is galloping off to every which way to swallow human beings, I is scuttling away to blow dreams into the bedrooms of sleeping children. Nice dreams, lovely golden dreams, dreams that is giving the dreamers a happy time. Now hang on a minute, Sophie said. Where do you get these dreams? I collect them, the BFG said, waving an arm towards all the rows and rows of bottles in the cave. I has billions of them. You can't collect a dream, Sophie said. A dream isn't something you can catch hold of. You is never going to understand about it, the BFG said. That is why I is not wishing to tell you. Oh, please tell me, Sophie said. I will understand. Go on. Tell me how you collect dreams. Tell me everything. The BFG settled himself comfortably in his chair, crossed his legs, and said, Dreams is very mysterious things. They is floating around in the air like little wispy, misty bubbles. And all the time they is searching for sleeping people. Can you see them? Sophie asked. Oh, never at first. Then how do you catch them if you can't see them? Aha! Now he is getting on to the dark and dusky secrets. I won't tell a soul. I is trusting you, the BFG said. He closed his eyes and sat still. A dream, he said, as it goes whiffling through the night air, is making a tiny little buzzing humming noise. But this little buzzy hum is so silvery soft, it's impossible for a human being to be hearing it. Can you hear it? Sophie asked. The BFG pointed up at his enormous truck wheel ears. Is you seeing these? He said. How could I miss them? Sophie said. They maybe is looking a bit preposterous to you, but you must believe me when I say they is very extra usual ears indeed. They is not to be coughed at. I'm quite sure they're not, Sophie said. They is allowing me to hear absolutely every twiddly little thing. You mean you can hear things I can't hear? You is deaf as a dumpling compared with me. You is only hearing thumping loud noises, but I am hearing all the secret whisperings of the world. Such as what? Sophie asked. Oh, I is hearing the footsteps of a ladybird as it goes walking across the leaf. Honestly? What's more, I is hearing those footsteps very loud. Oh, what else can you hear? I is hearing little ants chittering to each other as they scuttle around in the soil. You mean you can hear ants talking? I is hearing every single word, although I is not exactly understanding their language. Go on, Sophie said. Well, sometimes on a clear night, if I is swiggling my ears in the right direction, and the night is very clear, I sometimes hear faraway music coming from the stars in the sky. A queer little shiver passed through Sophie's body. She sat very quiet, waiting for more. My ears is what told me you was watching me out of your window last night. But I didn't make a sound. Oh, I was hearing your heart beating across the road, loud as a drum. I can hear plants and trees. Do they talk? Sophie asked. Oh, they is not exactly talking, but they is making noises. Oh, wow. You think I is Swiss-figgling you and not telling you the truth? No, I is not wishing to call you, to not believe you. Oh, if you are calling me a fibster, I'm stopping right now. Oh, no, I'm not calling you anything. I believe you. I do really. Please go on. Sophie could tell she had offended the BFG. I wouldn't ever be fibbling to you, he said. I know you wouldn't, but you must understand that it isn't easy to believe such amazing things straight away. I understand that, the BFG said. So please forgive me and go on, Sophie said. Well, I just hear so many sounds. Just so many. I can even hear the heart of a tree. He paused. The cave was silent. Oh, he was sitting very straight in his chair now. His face was bright, his eyes round and bright as two stars. Oh, such wonderful and terrible sounds I was hearing. Some of them you would never wish to be hearing yourself, but some is like glorious music. He seemed almost to be transfigured by the excitement of his thoughts. His face was beautiful in its blaze of emotions. Tell me some more about the sound you hear. Oh, you just ought to be hearing little mices talking. Little mices is always talking to each other, and I is hearing them as loud as my own voice. What do they say? Only the mices know that. Spiders is also talking a great deal. You might not be thinking it, but spiders is the most tremendous natterboxes, and when they is spinning their webs, they is singing all the time. They is singing sweeter than a nightingale. Oh, what else do you hear? I hear cattle piddlers. Oh, they are chatty. They is always arguing about who's going to be the prettiest butterfly. Is there a dream floating around in here now? Sophie asked. The BFG moved his great ears this way and that, listening intently. He shook his head. There is no dream in here, he said, except in the bottles. I has a special place to go for catching dreams. They is not often coming to Giant Country. How do you catch them? The same way you is catching butterflies, the BFG answered, with a net. He stood up and crossed over to a corner of the cave where a pole was leaning against the wall. It was 30 feet long and there was a net on the end of it. Here is the dream catcher, he said. Every morning I is going and I snitch dreams to put in my bottles. Suddenly he seemed to lose interest in the conversation. I is getting hungry, he said. It is time for eats. And this is the drawing I drew tonight. The marvelous ears. The BFG got tears in his eyes when he found out Sophie was an orphan. He told her how keen his hearing was. He also told her his secrets about his dreams and that he was blowing a dream into the Gucci children's bedroom. He told her he could even hear ants talking. And can you see the ants right there saying hello, hi? And look at those marvelous ears that he had. Oh my goodness. So we have had a full time of reading with the BFG, and I'm just going to have to stop there because I don't have enough time left to read another story. So the BFG is going to send you some kisses. Mwah. 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 Bye. I am the big friendly giant. And go to sleep and be good boys and girls. And hopefully you will have good dreams. Good night.
Amen.